All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Test 10 review. We actually aren't going to need to do Lesson 55 because it is so similar to Lesson 56. So it's time to get ready for another test. Let's see what we got going on. So the dreaded two-step story problems from Lesson 49, they are thinkers. You are not going to be able to do these as quickly as basic mathematic operations like multiply or divide. You always want to think about what your goal is and maybe what the first step is going to be. So here's one that says, Bob is 4 years older than Tommy. That's what we know. Tommy is 2 years younger than Susie. Susie is 14 years old. How old is Bob? Well, that sounds like what our goal is right there. They want to know how old Bob is going to be. But the only way to figure this out, the first step has to be how old is Tommy? Because you can't really figure it out any other way. So it tells you Tommy is 2 years younger than Susie. And then it also tells you Susie is 14. So if Susie is 14 and Tommy is 2 years younger, Tommy's got to be 12. It's not so bad if you draw yourself out some little stick people. And now it's telling us that Bob is 4 years older than Tommy. It also helps if you kind of read it backwards, go from the last sentence up. Bob is 4 years older than Tommy. Well, if Tommy's 12 and Bob's 4 years older, then he's 16. It's not so bad if you draw it out and break it apart sentence by sentence. Check out this one coming from not so long ago, Lesson 48, where we had to write in standard form. Remember your place value chart. You have one in your book if you are still confused. So it always goes digit times the place value. So my first digit up is 8. So I want an 8 in my 10,000 spot. And then a 1 in my 100 spot. And the next digit up is a 2 in the 10 spot. And then I have a 3 in the 1 spot. And you have to remember, fill in any empty places with zeros. We don't need to put a 0 in the front of a number, but if you have anything in between, it needs a 0. So I have 80,123. Check out this one. Here it says, Linda is 4 feet 9 inches tall. How many inches tall is she? And the hint that I wrote down here for you, you first want to convert feet into inches because they want the answer in inches. So she's 4 feet. How many inches are in a foot? And hopefully you know that is 12. That is 4 groups of 12. 12 and 12 and 12 and 12. That's giving you a total of 48 inches right there. But that's not the final answer because she's 4 feet and another 9 inches. You got to go and add on the extra inches. So how tall is she? She is a total of 57 inches. Check out this one coming at you from Lesson 50, which is all about how to find an average. And here it is saying, when the kids lined up, 11 children were in one line and 17 students were in the other line. If the students were put into 2 equal lines, there is your clue word that you're doing an average when you make everything the same or equal. how many would be in each line. And I even wrote down the steps for the algorithm here. The first thing you want to do is add all the numbers. I have 17 kids in one line, and I have 11 more in another line. How many is that? That's a total of 28, but that's not my answer. I couldn't get 28 kids in 2 lines. That's bigger than what either 2 groups are. Then you have to go and divide by how many numbers you added. How many numbers did I add? Looks like I only added 2, 17 and 11, right? So that means I have a total of 14 students. 14 would be in each line if you made them equal. Check out this guy coming at us from lesson 37, and it says, draw a rectangle and shade 2/4 of it. So I already did that. I drew it out. I'm cutting it into fourths. There's a fourth, there's a fourth, there's a fourth, and there's a fourth. And they want to know what percent is shaded. Be careful. Sometimes it asks for what's not shaded. So on your fraction pieces, you should know that each fourth is 25%. So this first fourth here is 25%, and this other shaded fourth is 25%. Well, 25% plus 25%, that's got to give you 50%. That's shaded, right? Not too tough if you use your fraction pieces. Check out this one. Measure to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. And we had a whole lot of people having a whole lot of problems on the last measuring. I want to point out here that here's the whole number 1. Here's the whole number 2. Over here is the whole number 3. So I had a whole bunch of people who didn't even get the whole numbers right. It's going to be a mixed number because here's 1 inch, here's 2 inch. It's not quite 3 inches, so you better start with the whole number 2. So now on to the fraction part. It says 1/4 of an inch. Well, hopefully you remember quarters are fourths. Just like there's 4 quarters in $1 or 4 quarts in a gallon of milk. A quarter is a fourth. But you might be saying, Mr. Hines, this is cut into 16 little pieces. Well, yes it is. But check this out. Do you notice that these lines are all different lengths? So right here, if I go 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, here is the longer line. That is 1/4 right there for us, right? And then count out another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's your other longer line. This would be 2/4. And then lastly, if I counted out 4 more and go to the next longest line, the long lines are your fourths, and this would be 3/4. So if I'm measuring it to the nearest 1/4 inch, it's all the way past the whole number 2, and it's 2 3/4. Also, when you measure, not all of our rulers are the same. Make sure you start at 0 if you have extra room. So another one coming at us from lesson 44, only now we're flipping our ruler over and we're using the metric side. And it says 6 centimeters is equal to how many millimeters? Well, these lines right here are centimeters. The numbered ones. Here's 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4, 5, and 6. These little itty bitty guys, those are your millimeters. So here is 10 millimeters. Another 10 millimeters, well, that put me up to 20, right? And another 10 millimeters, that would be 30. I'm just counting by tens. And then another 10 millimeters, that would give us 40. Another 10 millimeters, that's got to give us 50. And lastly, the final 10 millimeters, that gives us 60. There's got to be an easier way, and there is. If you're converting centimeters to millimeters, times it by 10. If you are converting millimeters to centimeters, divide it by 10. So 6 centimeters times it by 10, that's got to be 60, just like I counted out, right? But sometimes I don't want to count that many itty bitty little lines. Check out this guy, another place value, just using digits to write the number. Be careful, make sure you understand where your different groups are. So our first part up, you name the number, you name the group. So I have the number is 205, and I have to write him in the 1,000 group. So 205, that would mean 200s, 0 tens, and 5 ones. 205,000. I want them in the 1,000 group. And then over here in the no-name group, I just have 13. How do I make 13? I got to use all 3 spaces. 13 sounds like 110 and 3 ones. Fill in any empty places with zeros. 205,013. So checking out this guy coming at us from lesson 17, the old dangle the zero trick. I'm not even going to get ready for the zero until it's absolutely necessary at the end. And I'll bring them straight down. I'm going to start multiplying by my first whole number here. 5 times 2 is 10. I write down my 0. I'm going to carry my 1. Then I'm going to go 5 times 7 is 35. Plus 1 more is 36. I'm going to write down my 6. I'm going to carry my 3. Then I'm going to go 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 3 more. Yeah, that sounds like 23. But I have to remember to bring down my 0 or it's going to be completely wrong. Now I'm ready for my dollar sign and my decimal point. Decimal point goes 2 places back and the dollar sign goes up front. $236. So I had a few people get one wrong on the last test like this. Remember, set up your fraction problems vertically. We're going to get very soon to where you're going to have to because you won't be able to do them mentally. And I had about 4 people tell me that 3/5 minus 3/5 is 0/5. Well, this is 0/5. I don't have any fifths down here. Do you really have to say 0/5? No, you do not. Just go and say it's 0. Let's try another one here. Every so often I get people trying to add or subtract the denominators. All you have to do is add or subtract the numerators, the top number. I'm going to start off going 4 minus 2. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2. The denominator stays the same. If the first fraction is tenths and the second fraction is tenths, guess what? This is going to stay tenths. Don't forget now to do your whole number side. 3 minus 1, that's 2. They're incredibly easy, but very easy to make a silly mistake. So let's check out this guy. Been a while since we had one set up in what's called the division bar. It is a divide problem though. 954, that's going to be your number inside the box. 9 is going to be the number we're dividing by. I'm seeing lots of people, especially when we just started two-digit dividing, not doing this step. Figure out where you're going to divide into. 9 divides into 9. So my first digit I write is going to be right here on top of the 9. Then I'm going to need a digit on top of the 5. And I'm going to need a digit on top of the 4. You already know before you started dividing how many digits you're going to need until you're done. 9 divides into 9 one whole time, multiplies back for 9, it subtracts for 0. I bring down my 5 and I park it right next to my subtraction answer. And 9 divides into 5 how many times? Does it? No, it doesn't. So I'll have to write a 0 here. Multiply this answer back. 0 times 9, hey, that's 0. 5 minus 0, that's 5. And bring down your last number, the 4. Park it right next to your subtraction answer. And now 54 divided by 9. That's got to be 6. Multiply it back. The digit you just wrote, 6 times 9. Hey, that's 54. 54 minus 54 is 0, so I just have those 3 digits in my quotient. I didn't have to have a remainder. Check out this guy coming at us from Investigation 5, the old bar graph. How many more kids chose pizza as their favorite lunch compared to hamburgers? Well, let's read our bar graph here. Pizza seems to be halfway between 8 and 10. So how many kids chose pizza? That looks to me to be 9. Let's take a look at hamburgers. Hamburger goes right up to the 6th line. So how many more kids chose pizza? 9 is how many more than 6? Well, that sounds like it should be 3 to me. Okay, and that is the end. I did not have many A's last time out. Please remember, double check your questions and the answers, and good luck.